Welcome to the cinema. You've got the PC navigation instructions, but effectively what we've got is a guided tour through some of the key vocabulary that you need to approach a question about the cinema or films correctly in the IELTS exam, and this here gives you a quick taste of what that part of the speaking exam would look like. We move forward to this big purple screen here in this beautifully designed cinema, and you've got some seats there and a big red curtain, of course, and some kind of ambient lighting. But we've got here some idiomatic language or vocabulary, such as I live a stone's throw away from the cinema, and the film didn't live up to the hype, I hated it. And these are just classic idioms that we would use when talking about films or cinema, but maybe language learners don't really use them in exams. But what we're doing is help scaffold that important vocabulary for you. We've got some fun facts here about films, about Toy Story and Jurassic Park. This is just again to give you some of the vocabulary like sequel and blockbuster, really key words for this topic. Instead of your rotten tomatoes, we've got rotten potatoes, and this is a film review that you can use with your students to walk them through some of the key vocabulary, and we've color coded it as well, blue, pink and green, to give you some good grammatical structures and more vocabulary. We go a bit deeper into what the IELTS exam is looking for in terms of the marking scheme, and yes, this is to prepare people for band 7, so as I'm showing you here, you will need to show flexibility in lexical vocabulary or resource, and also use some idiomatic language, and we saw back over there before that that's exactly what you can do in this space. We've got some good posters here to talk about some upcoming films in Lingo Spaces cinema, and of course a lot of this is just tongue-in-cheek, but it's maybe an engaging way to interact with your English language learners. Now, after having scaffolded some of the vocabulary, we're about to move into the activity room where you can review and implement this vocabulary and grammar in a more interactive way. And you can see here that if you click that audio button, you get some good pronunciation. Of course, it's British English. There are many different accents and pronunciations in the English language, but that at least gives you some kind of native English speaking content to share with your students. And this is the pièce de la résistance. You can use these red squares to drag and drop the key words into the gaps or spaces to get your students working together, or individually if you want, or even self-study, to think a bit more about sentence structure. And of course, this is all related to films and cinema. We've got a good passive structure here. The film was released around 10 years ago, and passive, of course, is really needed for those people looking for the higher bands in the IELTS. So there we go. That's the activity wall there. And we move on to another activity wall. And this is thinking about synonyms to build out some deeper level vocabulary that you could use. Of course, everybody says, oh, the story was good in the film, or I enjoyed the story. Well, the plot, why not use that word? That's what native speakers would say. So you should be using that if you want to get the high marks in the IELTS exam. The big screen or silver screen is another word for cinema. And there's lots more vocabulary that we've provided you with here. But that's it. That gives you a quick taste. And yes, this is Lingo Spaces, as you're seeing. And you know, you can even use the ticket booth here. If I just jump inside this ticket booth, there we go. You could even do some role playing with your students and get them practicing buying and selling tickets.